Hey everybody, welcome back to Jay's Fit Down Football Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Gay, back today with Nick Winkler here on our football show. Just wanted to appreciate him coming on, Nick. Thanks for coming back on the podcast. I got a lot to talk about. A lot of good football action as always. So,
Yeah, my pleasure, Jay, as always.
yes, sir. Before we get started, make sure you guys check us out on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your favorite podcast. We're there. Subscribe, check us out there. Got a lot of good content. Nick, I'm sure you heard Matt Rhule, head coach of the Carolina Panthers, got fired the other day. Very interesting stuff there. He went 11-27 overall in Carolina over a few years as head coach. What's your thoughts on this whole move, man? Where did the Panthers go, do you feel, moving forward?
I mean, the 49ers showed up and beat him up so bad that the guy got fired. You know, you got to feel a little bit bad for him. But no, he just they haven't taken any steps forward, right? I mean, that's the problem with a team like the Panthers is they come into the season, they go get a quarterback they think is going to be the future there, Baker Mayfield, and it's just not, right? He's clearly not the guy, and then he gets hurt. And, you know, Matt Rhule, this is how much they didn't want Matt Rhule there is they basically paid him $50 million to go away. They're like, we know we owe you a bunch of money still, but you're good, man. You can go ahead and just bounce. It's fine. It's a dumpster fire, right? I mean, at this point, like they don't have a whole lot. They've got way too many weapons to not be playing well. So you got to think: was it the head coach? Was it the system he installed? Was it something else? You know, was it? Who knows? Is it ownership? You know, are they just bringing in the wrong guys and they're not melding? Because sometimes you see that, right, where a team doesn't necessarily have the most talent on paper, but they're the best team because they know how to play together. So I don't think the Panthers ever figured that out. I don't think they have the right culture down there. It's definitely going to take, you know, a new guy coming in. They tried it, you know, with Rhule, hoping that he'd be the thing, and he's not. So next man up, right? I'm afraid for D'Amico Ryans that his defense did so well against him that he's going to be forced to take that head coaching job next year.
Yeah. And like you said, man, ever since that Super Bowl season with Cam Newton and those guys, it's really just been, like you said, a whole dumpster fire down in Carolina. It's just been in the toilet. I mean, if we got to call it how it is, and you know, I mean, Newton declined, and you know, eventually that's why they parted ways with him, and just been trying to find consistency at the quarterback position. You know, and the main thing is, I feel like when your quarterback, when you don't have any fluidity there, any consistency there, it affects the whole team. You know, and maybe that's one of the issues with the Panthers. I mean, they haven't had a quarterback. You know, I mean, they tried, like you said, they brought in Darnold. It didn't work. You brought in Baker Mayfield. That's not working. So, you know, I mean, and like the talent, man, DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey, I mean, so much talent, but I mean, he can't get it done. And Christian can't stay on the field.
Right. Right. And that's the thing, too. If they can't stay healthy, I mean, you got DJ Moore, who's one of the better receivers in the NFL, and they can't find a way to get him the ball consistently. So there's something going on there. It's more than meets the eye, I think, kind of a situation. And they're going to have to just kind of hit the reset button after this season and just kind of start over.
Yeah, most definitely. And like I said, the 49ers really put the hamper on them. So, I mean, just taking note from that game, man, what did you like out of the 49ers, you know, against the Panthers? What did you like? Did you like what you see and how the offense do defensively? All those good things.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, there was a couple games this year where the run game started out well and then they got away from it, you know, and I just think that they stuck with it. Jeff Wilson had a great game. The offensive line had a great game. That, to me, was the biggest thing that came out of that game. I mean, obviously, the injuries to Mosley and Bosa on the defensive side. Hopefully, Bosa's not too serious, but obviously, Mosley gone for the season. That's going to hurt. But they do have Jason Verrett just kind of waiting in the wings, right, who got hurt early last season, missed the whole year. They were able to kind of keep him on the back burner and be like, no, just let's take it as slow as possible with you because we don't need you right now. Well, now they might need him, right? I mean, maybe they give him another week because, you know, this Atlanta Falcons football team, not exactly known for the lighting up the air in the passing attack. So maybe they give him another week, and they put Lenore out there. Maybe, you know, we see Ambry Thomas, who played well in stretches last year at that opposite cornerback. But Charvarius Ward also showing that he is an elite cornerback in the NFL, just putting everybody on lock out there, you know, whatever side he's on. So that's really good to see. I bet we see a lot of him on Drake London this weekend. And just try to take him out of the game and force the Falcons to try to run it as much as possible, which is kind of good news for the Falcons because that defensive line is really banged up right now for San Francisco.
Yeah. And like you said, man, just the 49ers, just, I mean, it's really just impressive the way that they're how balanced they are on both sides of the ball, defensively, offensively. Just being able to get the job done, the running game. I mean, Kyle Shanahan was offensive coordinator here in Atlanta, for a number of years, and so
went to a Super Bowl there.
Yes, yeah. So he took that scheme over to San Fran, and just running the football, the play action, and just being able to get your guys. You get your defense out in the wrong position. And Deebo Samuel, man, what can you do with him? You can't stop him. So George Kittle. The 49ers, I really believe, they should have had that Super Bowl a couple years ago. I definitely think they'll be back very soon. I think they're a sleeper team, man. I really do. I think people are not talking about the 49ers right now. They are a really good team this year. So something to definitely look forward to, man.
Yeah, this is a team that could easily be 5-0, right? They lost in a monsoon to the Bears, and then they lost the game against Denver that they should not have lost. That is a bad Denver Broncos football team. But, good teams find ways to win football games, right? And they didn't find a way to win either one of those. And you're right, they're on the upswing right now. It's fun to watch as a 49er fan, obviously, to see this kind of progression. And you mentioned George Kittle, too, and they got George Kittle involved a lot last week, which is important for them. He did have the fumble, which sucked, but he hasn't been doing a whole lot of catching and running with the ball, so maybe he forgot how to really protect it. He was just fighting for a few extra yards, and that's what he does. So you kind of live with that, when it comes to Kittle. And Elijah Mitchell should be back soon too in that backfield, and that should really be a 1-2 punch with him and Wilson, because Wilson has really shown that he deserves to not just get put on the sidelines when Mitchell comes back. That they should be a running back by committee, and that's good to see if you're a 49er fan, because you don't want to see Mitchell get banged up again, because when he's on the field, he's fantastic. But when you give him the ball 20 times, he can't handle that. He can't stay healthy. He's proven that over his last 2 seasons. So it'll be nice to have a change of pace with Wilson and maybe a 1-1A situation. I don't see a big drop off between those two guys.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And the 49ers it's the running back position has always just been deep for them, since Shanahan got there. And just, we had Raheem Mostert and, all those guys, Jeff Wilson, Tevin Coleman, when he got in the game, he made some
undrafted guys or late draft pick guys.
Well, yeah. So I don't know how Kyle does it, man. Those running backs, he just finds a way to get them and keep them productive. So definitely something to look out for. But
yeah,
against the Falcons this week. What are your
Tell
keys?
me about the Falcons running backs. I know that you got 2 young running backs, right? Tell me about it.
Yeah. So Tyler Algier, rookie out of BYU, powerful runner. It kind of reminds me a little bit of in a way, I'm not sure. He's one of those guys. He's a tough runner, but he's also he has speed. He can break away as well. So it's a guy that I think should get more touches. Him. As well as Avery Williams, another guy who they moved from corner to punt return. Now he's playing running back. So, Arthur Smith loves how he loves to move his guys around as well. So, that'll be definitely interesting. Cordero Patterson is out on IR. That's a huge blow for the team because he's basically their number one offensive guy in the backfield. So, and Caleb Huntley, the undrafted guy out of the undrafted player, local from Georgia. So, I expect him to get a lot of run against San Francisco. Like you mentioned, that defensive line's banged up. I think we need to run the football. I don't want this game in the hands of Marcus Mariota.
It won't be. They're smarter than that. You've seen it the last couple of weeks, right, where there was a couple drives where they didn't even throw the ball once. They just ran the ball over and over. And I've been doing my homework and putting in some Atlanta Falcons game tape just to see kind of what the 49ers are going up against this week. And it is a good offensive line that really is good at blocking downhill. And if they can get things going and pushing the 49ers guys back on their heels, then they're going to be able to move the football. But, yeah, I think if Mariota tries to throw the ball too much, I think they might be in some trouble.
Yeah, definitely. And again, we all mentioned that, he's still – this is new for him offensively. He hasn't been a starter in a while, but then again, you are a veteran. So at some point that intuition's got to get turned on, and Marcus has to perform. Like I've seen him perform before when he was in Tennessee, so that's just a matter of what we got to see from our end. And defensively, it's just containing Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, all those guys, it's and Jimmy Garoppolo.
Well, it's funny. The defense will contain Debo, and they'll contain Ayuk, and they'll contain, Kittle, and then all of a sudden Kyle Juszczyk will break off a 40-yard passing catch. they've got so many weapons there on offense that just that other teams don't have. Who else has a fullback that can go out and play wide receiver? Not many teams in the NFL ever.
I don't know one.
Have had that guy, right? Yeah, that's exactly right. Like he's the unicorn, right? Deebo Samuel, unicorn. Like they got these guys on the team that there's nobody else like them in the NFL. So it's hard to game plan against guys like that for a defensive coordinator. So I'm sure, I'm not sure who the defensive coordinator is in Atlanta, but I know he has had a rough week. And he's going to be up late nights. Yeah. And he's not going to be happy going into this game because he's going to be like, how am I going to stop all these guys and stop Jeff Wilson? It's like, good luck.
Yeah, the 49ers represent a very tough challenge for defensive coordinators this year. And then on the flip side, they're not going to let you score a lot offensively. I mean, they're averaging opponents 12 points a game. That's not that's not
gonna if you look at the Niners defense, they're top 3 in every major category, and most of those are number 1. So but it's weird too because they just keep getting hurt, right? I mean, it's just guys keep going down. Eric Armstead definitely not going to play in this game. Bosa's probably not going to play in this game. They lost Mosley, like they lost Azeez Al-Shaair. Like there's a lot of guys that haven't been playing for this 49er team, and yet they just keep plugging and playing on that defense, and it just keeps working. So either they're great at getting talent at multiple positions, backup guys, or the system is so good that they could just plug and play and really just not worry about it.
Yeah, DeMeco Ryans has done an impressive job. We talked about him before here on the podcast. He has done a phenomenal job, because we mentioned Robert Saleh left to go to be the head coach for the Jets in New York, and they promoted DeMeco Ryans, and, he has just continued that defensive, the tenacity of, just getting after you and just bringing pressure with the front four because he doesn't really blitz a lot. Mostly that pressure is coming from your down 4 linemen right there, and I just found it really impressive how they're able to create so much consistent harassing pressure without blitzing and things of that nature. So it's really a good job of what he's done down there. Definitely going to be a head coach in this league one day.
Yeah, like we said, we talked about culture change in Carolina needed. There was a culture change needed in New York with the Jets, and it looks like they're getting things righted over there, right? I mean, they're definitely a lot better than they were a year ago, and even better than they were 2 years ago, right before Saleh took over. And I love what Mike McDaniel's doing down in Miami. I mean, obviously he's getting a lot of heat with the Tua stuff, but that's not his call. He's not a doctor. Doctors tell him Tua can go back into play. He's going to put him back into play. You can't hold that against him. But what he's done offensively there, when they have all their weapons, it's phenomenal to see. So yeah, I think DeMeco Ryans is going to. Unfortunately, this will probably be his last season with the 49ers, and then he'll move on from here. But, he'll probably have his pick. There'll probably be a few teams out there looking for somebody, and some teams going to be very happy to have him as their next head coach.
Oh, yeah, most definitely, man. So final keys, man, who the 49ers need to, keep under wraps in this game against the Falcons? What is going to be the key for them winning this football game in your eyes?
In my eyes, I just think that, honestly, the 49ers just need to not beat themselves, right? They need to avoid the turnovers. They need to avoid the big mistakes. They need to put kind of a cap on Drake London, not let him get going, because that's kind of their only weapon right now on offense. Like Kyle Pitts, he might not play even if he does. Like he's been MIA most of the season. Like, you'd like to say, he's their biggest threat, but it's like, is he? Because they're not even throwing him the ball. So you just got to, stack the box and make that running game beat you. And if Mariota does decide to throw, best of luck to him. So basically, to me, I just think they need to be careful on offense and really have just kind of a conservative approach to this game and just make sure Jimmy doesn't make any of those over the middle late passes that get picked and return for a touchdown, because that's going to be the thing that hurts the 49ers. They kept Carolina in it too long last week. In that game, they really let him hang around. And then that pick 6 at the end of the first half, it was 10-3 at that point. Like, it was still a very close football game. And then that kind of put it, you're like, okay, here we go. 17-3. All right, Niners come out, score again in the third quarter. It's like, all right, this is what should have been happening the whole time. But the Niners don't have a lot of that, like, go for the jugular thing going on right now. And, I'd like to say just go get it against the Falcons. But at the same time, like, you also need to play it smart and not feed into to what Atlanta wants to do, which is probably run the football, control the clock, keep that 49ers offense off the field, and try to just wear down that front four, which is probably going to be a lot of backups this week, because Ebukam also for the 49ers has an Achilles thing going on. So he might not play as well. So I'm telling you, you look at the 49ers and their injury report and you're like, those are all starters. Oh man. And they're all questionable. Like it's if Atlanta wanted to hit the Niners at the best time of the year, now seems like that perfect time right now. Still no Trent Williams on the offensive line. Still no Mitchell. You know, they're probably not going to have Bosa. They're not going to have Mosley. They're not going to have Ebicom. Like, this is the time when the 49ers are definitely beatable.
Yeah, man, and it's really a shame. You know, all those guys, such talented players on that defense side of the ball. You know, big contributors over there for that defense in San Fran. You know, and a lot of guys just coming up and improving. You know, Ebicom, you know, he's been steadily, you know, improving as well. Came over from
Jimmy Ward
Rams.
too, another guy. Yeah,
you know,
who just might not be playing.
Yeah, man, it's tough.
I know.
Injuries are tough, man. They really are.
Yeah,
you know,
everybody's got to deal with them, right? You just next man up and go get it.
Yep, next man up. So, Nick, I'm sure you heard Davante Adams, man. He's been charged with a misdemeanor for pushing a photographer after the game versus the Chiefs on Monday night. He was walking out. I guess he was mad.
I've seen the video a bunch, right? Did you see it?
Yeah. I mean,
the guy bumps him. And then he pushes him. You know that. Okay, so here's the thing. One of the first things they teach you when you're in the media, right? And you go to one of these games and you get a press box or you get a press pass. They say you're covering the story. Don't be the story. This guy did not do that, and he didn't do it by his own accord. He was not paying attention, and he was running where the players are exiting the field right after the game. Like, there was a really bad move on his part. Now it just looks to me like he's trying to go get some money. Like, this is I hate this whole thing because if you watch it, Davante Adams is clearly upset. They just lost the football game. He's trying to go home, right? He's over with his job. He's trying to exit. This guy bumps into him, and then he pushes him. This guy's holding a big stick. He doesn't know if this guy's trying to attack him. Like, there's so many things that could have been going on through his head. He didn't just push him because he was trying to take out his anger on this guy. Like, this guy walked into him, and he pushed him. Like, what if – okay, so here's another thing. What if Davante Adams doesn't push him? He trips over him, tears up his knee or something. Like, there's so many bad things that could have happened in this situation. What if that's a guy that was trying to attack him? Like, I really – and I hate that he's charging him with a misdemeanor assault charge. Like, it just seems like a petty money grab to me, and I don't know. I don't like it one bit.
Yeah, I don't like it either, man. You know, I think exactly that's what it is. And you know how exactly, man, you know, the media, you're in this business, man, you know, like they love to distort everything, and they're trying to make it seem like Davante's the bad guy here, but no, he's trying to get out of there. It's a football game. You just lost. Like, I mean, I play football. We just lost, I'm ready to go home, man. Get me something to eat and get out of there. You know, what I'm saying?
If I'm walking out of my job right now and somebody bumps into me and they're carrying something, I'm gonna push them. Yeah. Like, you know, if I don't feel safe, or if I feel like I might trip over this person, like, I'm gonna protect myself first and foremost, especially if it's not my fault. Like, this was clearly that photographer's fault. He got in the way right at the exit, like right at the walkway, at the tunnel. Like, I don't know, man. To me, I get a little worked up talking about this, just being a part of the media and knowing that that's like the cardinal rule is you do not become the story. And he's the story now from the end of that game, and that's bad.
Yeah, definitely bad. And the Raiders did take that loss there to the Chiefs. They were leading in the game, and they just kind of let it slip away. They're kind of – the Raiders have been struggling a bit this year. And what do you think is a problem out there in Vegas, Nick, and what's going on?
I mean, they've lost close games, right? I mean, they're a good football team. It's hard to win football games in the NFL. They had a 17-point lead, you know, against the Chiefs, and they probably should have won that football game. I don't like the play call there in the fourth and short. You know, and they're running two guys deep down the field, and then they bring pressure, and they run into each other. I mean, even if they didn't run into each other, like, Carr had no time to throw that football because they brought pressure. Like, you got to at least have some sort of safety valve coming on the other side or something short, you know, where he can pass that off to. But there were just two guys in that route, and that was it. Like, it was a bad play call. It was a bad play design. Davante Adams just couldn't get off the line fast enough, and so he wasn't where he was supposed to be because the cornerback played his job perfectly and got hands on him. And yeah, that was bad. You know, that was a rough loss for them because Josh Jacobs, you know, he's a top 5 running back right now in the NFL. He's showing it, you know, week in and week out. And they'll start winning football games. You know, it's been some tough losses for them, but they're a good football team. And they got a bye this week. I bet they come back out of the bye and they put off a little winning streak. And all of a sudden we're talking about them as contenders in a couple of weeks.
Oh, yeah. I can definitely agree with you there. You know, such talent on both sides of the ball. And, you know, obviously bringing in Davante Adams in the trade, you know, because they want to help bolster that receiving core. And, you know, you get a guy like that, man. I mean, that's – you know,
Playmaker.
How many chances you get a superstar player like him, and they gave him a lot to get him, and he's been bowling well for them so far this year. So I don't expect that to continue. But and as we move along here to week 6, what teams have kind of surprised you to this point? Whether it be in a good way or a bad way. Starting off fast or maybe not starting off as like you thought they would. Anybody like that?
Yeah. I mean, obviously the Miami thing is a bit of a shock to me, but once Tua went down, you knew there might be some struggles there. But I just thought they had enough talent behind them. But now they're on to their third quarterback, and it's been tough for them. The Saints kind of up and down. That's been a bit of a surprise for me too. I thought they'd be a better football team, but again, it's injuries, right? I mean, Michael Thomas out again. He came out hot. He looked good, and now he's been on the shelf for a couple of weeks. Now, I think the biggest surprise to me in all of the NFL so far has been the Denver Broncos, because I thought once they got Russell Wilson that they would take that next step, and they'd be like he's surrounded by weapons. This is great for him. But he's looked bad. I know he's got the shoulder injury now, but that hasn't been there all year, and he hasn't looked good at all year. So that to me, the biggest surprise. Seattle Seahawks also been a big surprise too, that they played so well with Geno Smith. He was kind of a punchline for a long time, as kind of like, oh, they're going to go with Geno Smith. Yeah, right. They're just waiting for the 49ers to cut Jimmy Garoppolo, and then they're going to sign. No, they really are going with Geno Smith. Okay, cool. No, but he's played really well. I mean,
he has.
Yeah. It's been fun to see.
Yeah, it has been, man. And Geno he's come in there and he's doing what they asked him to do. He's a guy been around the league, been in a lot of locker rooms, so he's got that experience. You always want guys like that, in your locker room, on your team,
100%.
And they rally around him, kind of like Jimmy G, in San Fran. Trey Lance went down, and this is a guy that they love and trust, and the team rallies around Jimmy. It's like, hey, this, we trust him. We know he's gonna help keep us in games and win football games for us, and and that's why he's back as the starter. Because everybody thought, like, okay, Trey Lance is hurt. I mean, are they gonna Jimmy Garoppolo really gonna be the starter again? But yeah, he is. He's doing his thing, right? So most definitely, man. But overall, it's been a very fun first 5 weeks of the season. A lot of interesting storylines, head bits. Man, horrible injuries also, but this is kind of the time of year where that happens.
It's every year, right? Yeah, and the cool thing too, Jay, is that here we are sitting week 5, just completed week 6 starting, and we're like, we know who the good teams are, we know who the best. 5 weeks from now, it's going to be so different than it is right now, and that's why we love this game.
That's why we love it, man. Love it to death. Yes, sir. So. Before we get off here, Nick, just one last little preview here. The Commanders and the Bears tomorrow night on Thursday Night Football. 2 teams who are just kind of just dreading water right now, So who do you see coming away with this victory, and, how big is it a game for both of these teams?
I think it's huge, right? I mean, both teams need a win. One of them is going to get a win, most likely. I mean, they could tie, which wouldn't shock me if we had like a 9-9 tie or something, but no, I think Carson Wentz has kind of shown flashes. There was a whole controversy with him and Rivera, and him basically saying like, "What's the problem? It's the quarterback." He kind of walked it back like, "Well, I didn't mean our quarterback was bad. I just meant the other quarterbacks have been in their systems longer." It's like, okay, yeah, nice save, coach. But no, I think that they're a better football team. Just from top to bottom, I really think they are. So I'd be shocked if the Commanders didn't come out of that game with a win.
Yeah, I think so too. The talent was there. Terry McLaurin, awesome receiver. Brian Robinson, the rookie, he's back. I mean, getting shot, man. It's he's in the lineup, and it's amazing story.
Yeah,
and he's a tough kid. So the fact that he's able to come out there and still play football right now. I mean, I don't know if I could do that. Experience something so traumatic. So I really tip my hat off to him for that as well, man. And the Bears, Justin Fields. And it's just
hard to see it. It's hard to see it. Yeah. He looks great when he runs the ball, right? And he looks great sometimes on some of these short passes, but it's like, can you win football games throwing the ball like 15 times? I mean, the Falcons are trying to do it right now too with Mariota. So it's like, who would you take right now, Mariota or Fields? I mean, I'd probably take Mariota at that point, right? I mean, for the immediate, you just hope that Fields is a future thing, where he figures it out, and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, that's the guy we drafted with our first round draft pick. Like, let's go. But, if Montgomery's healthy and they can find a way to get Mooney the ball, they can win this football game, of course. But, On paper, it doesn't. The Bears don't look good. They just plus they don't really pass the eye test. I've watched a lot of their football games too, and it just looks like they look confused out there, and everything just kind of looks like Fields is not really going through his progressions, but he doesn't have a whole lot of time, because again the offensive line isn't great there in Chicago. So yeah, I think this is going to be another one. I hope it's not as bad as the game was last Thursday night.
Oh, man,
where it's just all field goals, and then we had to get overtime in a bad game like that too. So hopefully there's a couple touchdowns, maybe some broken coverage. We can have ourselves a better Thursday night than we did a week ago.
Yes, Amazon Prime is really not doing us some good service with some of these games, man. But they're making their money. So,
yeah. Not their fault.
It's not their fault. But yeah, man, I just think again, Justin Fields, he hasn't had much help other than at the receiving position, other than Darnell Mooney, which is pretty concerning. Because outside of that, there is really not a lot of production from that receiving core for the Bears, and that's a big problem. In this NFL, with such a pass-heavy league, you have to be able to throw the football to win games. You have to.
Yeah.
Because in the
especially if you fall behind, like how are you going to come back?
Got to throw the ball.
Right. And if you can't, then your team is going to take an L if you fall behind early.
Yeah, that's how it is, man. So, but Nick, we appreciate you coming on, man, talking some ball with us. It's always good to have you on the show and providing us some 49ers excitement and energy. And as they look to take on the Falcons here in Atlanta on Sunday at 1:00. So that'll be an interesting game right there. Big game for both squads. So that's gonna be very fun to watch. Kyle Shanahan coming back to his old stomping grounds here in Atlanta.
There we go. The Kyle Shanahan story. Here we go.
Here we go. But again, yeah, you guys can check us out here on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your favorite podcast. Check out Locked On 49ers, where Nick is a contributor there, and they got a bunch of good content there covering San Francisco. So make sure you guys check us out and tune in next time for Jay's Fifth Down. It's been Jay and Gay, Nick Winkler. Thank you, guys.